Distinguished speakers, fellow members, and guests, a very good evening. A very good afternoon to every single one of you out there. I'm Nizar, and this is Sophia.
Yeah.
We'll be your hosts for today, and we would like to welcome all of you to the very first Student Leader Forum 2020. And a bit of introduction about ourselves. Sophia here is the former president of the Postgraduate Student Society of the Faculty of Humanities and Social Sciences of UTM. And she also is the brand ambassador of Connecting Asia.
Wow.
Which is if you do not know Connecting Asia, it's a online forum, online conference. I said that right?
Thank you so much, Nizar. Well, Nizar is the founder of Inside UTM, where it is a journalism club where they provide platforms to express ideas. Cool, right? By the way, he is Sri Lankan. All right.
That's an actual qualification. I can go around saying I'm Sri Lankan. Nice. And we're also both Toastmasters. Sophia, why don't you tell them a bit about Toastmasters?
Well, a Toastmaster is a leadership and communication club. Hey, how about you guys? Come on, introduce yourself. Which club are you from? Comment below and let us know.
Okay. Yes. Because I've gone through the first semester myself and I was not in many clubs. So if you're new students, you might not be in clubs, but you can comment what faculty you're from or what nationality you are. If you're Sri Lankan, please comment. There's only 3 of us out there. That being said, we'd like you to watch something, an initiative we've done at ATU-Net. So
about online global classrooms?
Yes, it's about online global classrooms, correct. In this pandemic, our normal thought processes have been challenged somehow.
Yeah.
And at ATU-Net, we take the limits as opportunities. And so we leveraged alliances with different universities around Asia to provide opportunities to create online mobility classrooms throughout Asia. So this is an initiative we've done, and you'll watch in a while the montage that we have. Just like the montage you just watched, the forum today is of a similar initiative. So from the beginning of the pandemic, we've all been thrown into isolation, be it mentally or physically. And it's always been an uphill battle since for most of us. So in today's forum, ideally and hopefully, you will learn about being able to better understand the situation and in hopes of overcoming it. Don't you think, Sophia?
Yes, I believe this pandemic is a blessing in disguise because it opens the opportunity and network between us, right? And because of that, we are here today. And the best part is we are bringing together a great lineup of speakers and student leaders, all for the purpose of sharing knowledge and connecting each other. So guys, you better tag your friends, share in your Facebook, to all the platforms, to all the networks from all over the world, because we don't want to miss every single word from our amazing speakers.
And when we mean amazing, we really mean it. So do take a look back at our lineup and you will understand why. And okay, with that being said, let's kick off the event with welcoming remarks from the Vice Chancellor of UTM himself, Prof. Datuk Engineer Dr. Ahmed Fauzi Ismail, to give his welcoming remarks. He is also, by the way, the chair of ATU-Net.
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, wassalatu wassalamu ala asrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Everything is good. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome all who are gathered virtually at this present moment in the first of its series, the ATU-Net Student Leaders Forum 2020, hosted by University Technology Malaysia. More than anything, the unprecedented global scenarios have set the world on a brand new path, the Great Reset, where we have to rethink our priorities and decide what's really important to all of us. To our youth and student leaders, the world is going to get better and it's going to be up to you. You are a driving force for change. We have heard and read stories of thousands of ordinary people who have led us to get extraordinary things done. I believe that you have it in you to achieve the same and even more than that. Your presence here in this forum signifies your readiness to pursuing further the call of leadership. The truth is that leadership is everyone's business. No matter what your position is, you have to take the responsibility. Our shared vision of the new world requires us to unite under the common cause to benefit and prosper the life of others. We must tap on our collective unique experiences and resources, our ingenuity and spirit of solidarity to complement and strengthen each other. I urge all youth and student leaders to rise to the challenge and explore the limitless possibilities. Let's work in synergy to rebuild a future that is safer and better for all. To the keynote speakers, roundtable speakers, and organizing team, I couldn't thank you enough for providing our youth and student leaders and all advocates of student and youth development a platform to network, share, and learn from each other. I hope this forum will strengthen the global network and ties for our youth and student leaders and will set in motion more initiative and actions for the sake of all. To all participants, thank you for joining us in this inaugural event of the ATU-Net Student Leaders Forum 2020. Congratulations to all for this milestone. Have a wonderful and fruitful forum. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Datuk Technology Dr. Ahmad Fauzi Ismail, for the message, very compact and meaningful. I really like the part when Prof. Datuk mentioned about leadership is everyone's business. You agree?
I do.
Yeah, because we are the leader to ourselves, to the family, to the society, and so on, right? So whatever position is, we have to take the responsibility, compulsory, okay? So, okay guys, let's move to our first keynote session. Let me share with you about him. He is the founder and CEO of OpenLearning, graduated from UNSW Australia, listed in the 2017 Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia for Consumer Technology, and in the PSC Foundation 2018 NSW Tech Entrepreneur Hall of Fame. Wow, amazing. He also received the prestigious UNSW Alumni Graduate Award in 2011 with the keynote title, "Do You Still Need a University Degree? How Education Will Evolve in the Coming Years." Ladies and gentlemen, here with us, Adam Brimo.
Hi everyone, my name is Adam. Nice to see you today, virtually, I guess. I've just shared my slides. Let's see if they will come up. Great. Okay, so it's wonderful to be here with all of you today, and I'm really excited, to spend a bit of time with you and just share some thoughts on where higher education is going, where universities are going. So just to start off with, though, just a little bit of background on myself and the company, so you know where I'm coming from and sort of what's informing my thinking. So I started OpenLearning in 2012, so about 8 years ago, a couple years after I graduated from university, where I studied software engineering and arts at UNSW in Sydney. And I founded the company with a classmate and a colleague, so a professor named Richard Buckland and my CTO, David Cullian. And OpenLearning is a global online education platform that enables any university or educator to design and deliver courses that are much more collaborative, project-based, and engaging to prepare people for the future of work. So since we started about 8 years ago, we've had over 4.2 million enrollments on the platform, about 4,000 courses, over 140 education providers, and we listed on the Australian Stock Exchange in December 2019, so you can actually follow us as a company. And very interestingly, we're based in Sydney, Australia, but we have an office in Kuala Lumpur, which is for all of Southeast Asia. And for the past 5 years, although except for this year, I spent about half my time in KL. So I very much look forward to coming back when the pandemic passes and we're allowed to leave. Now, what makes OpenLearning interesting is that it provides an end-to-end lifelong learning platform for everything from enrolling in a course through to learning new skills, demonstrating your skills, and then actually receiving a micro-credential or preparing you for whatever job or volunteering or entrepreneurial opportunity that might come about. And this is what we do with institutions, from universities to colleges, all the way through to educators, enabling you to create your own courses. But onto the topic of today, do you still need a university degree? Now, before I answer that, let's look at the situation in the world today. Well, technological change will impact the workforce in every country. And looking around the world, obviously there's varying estimates of how this impact will be felt. But in Malaysia, there's an estimate that 80% of semi-skilled jobs are at a high risk of automation. In Indonesia, there's a statement from the Asian Development Bank that 52% of workers are underqualified for their current positions. Now, I think it's an interesting stat, and I think what it probably shows is that over time, the skills required in a particular job actually change. Not to say that people were underqualified when they were first hired. In Australia, 74% of workers are willing to completely retrain just to remain employable. And 48% of employee activities in the Philippines could be automated with existing technology. So these are huge changes that are going to occur or already occurring in our workforce around the world. And these are stats from before COVID. And in many ways, what COVID has done is just accelerate this change. It's forced a lot of companies to think about digital transformation plans that maybe were previously 5 to 10 years off, and now they're preparing them immediately. Now, looking at the job landscape, the World Economic Forum just last month has estimated that by 2025, 97 million new jobs, this is more from, I think, a technology perspective, will be created, but 85 million jobs will be lost. Now, I think what's interesting is that some of the jobs where it says there's decreasing demand are actually jobs you might think are part of the knowledge economy, so to speak. Things like data entry and, maybe some forms of advanced manufacturing, operations. Now, these are jobs that I think are actually being automated by technology because although they may involve technology at the moment, there's still ways to automate them further. And those growing in demand, they're looking at data analysts, scientists, big data specialists. Now, these are all quite, I think, common topics. I think everyone always talks about sort of data science and sort of AI as being growth areas. But this is real, and over the next 5 years, according to the World Economic Forum, we're going to see growing demand for these jobs. Now, the skills that not just these jobs, but any jobs are going to require, these are the top 10 skills by 2025. And there are things here such as analytical thinking and innovation, complex problem solving, critical thinking and analysis, creativity. Now, these are skills that actually apply to every job out there. And I think what many people are finding now, particularly young graduates, is that when you go into the workforce, there are very few jobs that aren't going to require some of these skills, because these are the skills that actually set us apart from the automation that's occurring. So, if you can actually buy a piece of software or a robot or a program that actually can do some of the entry-level work, then, what differentiates you? Well, it's going to be your leadership skills, your creativity, your problem-solving skills. And this is going to be quite important for every role out there. So, given the pace of change, things are moving so quickly, there's so many new jobs coming up, existing jobs are falling away. I think people often question the role of universities when the world is changing so quickly, because there's this idea that when things change quickly, spending a few years at a university learning particular skills might not be relevant by the time you graduate, because the jobs that are available in 5, 10, 15 years are different to the ones when you enter. And I think obviously when we enter university, we always think of, what career do we want? And sometimes that's how you choose your university degree. But I think that's not always going to be the case, because good jobs require both technical skills, but also higher order thinking skills, problem solving, agility, learning how to learn. These are things that are applicable to every job that you might get. And although the world is moving very fast, these are actually some of the skills that you will develop at a university. And developing these skills is not something that can be done overnight. I think we're often asked around, how do you teach someone to be a great problem solver, a computational thinker, or creative, or an entrepreneur? And the reality is, it takes time and practice. And I believe that universities actually can transform your thinking and prepare you for jobs that don't yet exist. And I think they do this by providing you with a safe space to actually explore new ideas, solve problems, work through difficult situations over a period of time. Because although the world is moving quickly, that doesn't mean the fundamental skills required are actually changing. No matter what job you get in the future, things like problem solving and creativity and compassion and empathy, these are skills that are important for everyone going forward. So looking ahead, if I think back to when I was at university, and actually, interestingly, I was able to go onto the UNSW website, and I pulled up the Bachelor of Software Engineering course outline from 2006, and this is the year I entered university. I did a Bachelor of Software Engineering combined with a Bachelor of Arts. And I'm not sure if you can see, but this is all the different courses that are available in the software engineering degree. And I remember many of these, some long nights in the lab, weekends where I'm staying up late to finish an assignment. But across the 4 years of the software engineering component, students would do about 32 courses. And many of these courses, in many ways focus on both the theoretical skills, the fundamental underpinnings of the technology, but also the practical skills and thinking skills. So I look back and I took a course in artificial intelligence at the time. And it was a fantastic course. And although you would think artificial intelligence has come a long way in the past, 14 years now, 12 years, and it has, the tools that we use are very different. But the fundamental theories actually are very similar, if not the same as the ones I studied at university 12 years ago. And that's, I think, very important to remember, that what the university has done is they've actually looked at the fundamental skills and background experience that you need to understand what's going to happen in the future. And not just understand what other people are doing, but actually create those technologies and create those products and solutions that the world might require. So looking back, actually, a lot of the courses I did at the time, I probably didn't think, that they're relevant today. But, lo and behold, now actually some of these courses have been very important to me in my career. And now they're becoming popular, I think, in society generally. So the other point I think I'd like to make is that each of these courses is probably about 150 hours of learning once you add up all the activities and projects and everything else. Now, what that means is you actually have a lot of time to practice, to think deeply, to get stuck into it. And I think these days we always want, a quick win. We want to learn something overnight, get a job in a week. But the reality is that there are many skills out there that do take time to learn. And universities are the perfect place to take that time and to actually go in depth on a particular subject. That said, I think what we're seeing is that education is moving from a once-in-a-lifetime experience to lifelong learning. And what I've tried to show here is that, historically we started off, we did primary, secondary school, high school, middle school. Maybe we go into an undergraduate degree, a bachelor's degree, and then we go out into the workforce. Now, I think what's going to change now is that rather than studying, your bachelor's degree and then maybe 10 or 15 years, 20 years later, studying a master's degree, now I think you will still do an undergraduate degree. Many people still will. And that will set them up for success, but they will need to continue doing lifelong learning courses for the rest of their career and probably into retirement because they'll just enjoy learning at that point. And the big difference is that, obviously a multi-year degree can take quite a bit of time to complete. It can be quite expensive. It's quite a formal process. Whereas lifelong learning is actually informal. And, you can do courses, over a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Usually they're going to be online. They're going to be much more cost effective, and they're aligned to in-demand skills. But if you have a solid undergraduate degree, a good foundation in the field, then you will be much better placed when it comes to lifelong learning because you'll be able to take a refresher course in 10 hours that teaches you a new skill, a new programming language, a new way of solving problems, and you can draw upon the knowledge you gained from university. Now, there's global platforms out there that are delivering lifelong learning in collaboration with universities and educators. In Australia and Southeast Asia, OpenLearning is one of the largest of these platforms, with 2.6 million users and 4.2 million enrollments and over 100 universities and partners. In the US, you're looking at Coursera, edX, and Udacity. In the UK, FutureLearn is growing there. So around the world, you're seeing these big platforms grow, and they're providing they're increasing access to lifelong learning for everyone around the world, because some courses are paid and some are free. So they're great places to actually, learn new skills and refresh your knowledge. So do you still need a university degree? I think, yes, you do. But you also need lifelong learning. And I think the idea that somehow, in the future, people won't need to go to university because things are changing so quickly, they'll just do lifelong learning, I think is probably, I think we have to be very careful when we think about that and we say that, because many of the technologies, many of the jobs coming up in the future actually require a university degree or university experience more than ever, because there's going to be a lot more to know. There's a lot more theory, a lot more foundational skills. And if you actually have spent a few years learning something in depth, developing your critical thinking, analytical thinking skills, no matter what job comes up, you'll be better placed. So even though technology is moving fast, I think don't get impatient. You still have to take time to learn a subject in depth and develop your understanding. And the other element I'd say is that not all jobs are high-tech, but digital skills are necessary. So while many of the jobs and roles in the future might not seem like they're pure technology focused, like not everyone is going to be a programmer or a data scientist, I think in every job out there, digitization and computing is having an impact. And that means whether you're in healthcare or education or construction or finance, you'll be using technology a lot more. And if you have some experience with technology, whether it's computational thinking or other skills, then you'll be much better placed going forward. Just to add another perspective, this is some data from the Australian government around projected employment growth as a share of total jobs created over the past couple of years and going to 2023. Now, what's interesting is, as I just showed from the World Economic Forum, the biggest growth areas are supposed to be AI, data science, all of these really high-tech fields. And from a technology perspective, yes, they're growing. But look at where the growth has come in Australia in terms of jobs. 28% of all new jobs created are in healthcare and social assistance. Second is construction, then education and training, professional and technical services, hospitality. So these are still the fields that are going to employ the vast majority of people. And I think we have to be mindful that we don't lose sight of the fact that these professions require very high skilled people, and they'll require more and more people than some of the high-tech skills that we've been talking about and that always get a lot of the attention. Looking at the largest projected employment gains, we're seeing that, you know, in Australia over the past couple of years and going forward, 85,000 new jobs have been created in medical and healthcare. Now, if you compare that to, you know, computing and technology, only 37,000 new jobs have been created. So while there's a lot of new technical high-tech jobs being created, there's a lot of demand for AI and data science. And yes, if you are in one of those fields, the demand is very high based compared to the number of people with those skills. So you will be very well placed as a graduate. But medical, healthcare, social assistance, education, you know, these are fields where there's going to be significant demand, and these fields are going to become more and more technology enabled in the future. So an understanding of technology is very valuable. Now, every country is different. The mix between the jobs available, the wages those jobs will pay, the security those jobs will provide, whether some you know, countries or industries are more towards the gig economy or others are more towards full-time work, that varies based on country. And there's an interesting report out on economic complexity. And, you know, I have to admit that Australia is one of the lowest in economic complexity. Most of our exports are really, you know, mining and you know, only a little bit on the services side, although that's growing. But other countries are different. You know, Japan tops the list with very complex exports, you know, a lot of value-added manufacturing. So depending on the country in which you're located, the types of jobs that are growing and in demand may be different. And the application of technology to those jobs may also be different as well. So it's something to be mindful of, that when we look at these reports, every country is unique, but technological change will impact all of us to some degree. So in summary, I think, yes, university can prepare you for the jobs of the future. Lifelong learning is critical. And many jobs involve technology, but the growth sectors range from health, education, sales, and services. So although we talk a lot about technology, technology is very exciting. You know, many people looking to enter the field. I think let's not lose sight of the fact that many industries employing a huge number of people are moving towards technology and adopting technology as part of the daily work. So the better you understand these concepts and the more effort you put into lifelong learning, I think the more you'll be rewarded going forward. I think we all can look forward to a future where we are not just doing one degree in our life, early on in our life, but we're learning throughout our lives and into retirement as well. So thank you very much. It's wonderful to be here, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference today.
That was very interesting. Thank you, Mr. Adam Brimo. Solidify your fundamentals and be in it for the long run. That was very insightful. For me personally, after university, the only thing that I have in my mind, like if I want to continue learning, is a master's or a PhD. That's the only thing I've had. You did open my mind just now to other variations that you could look into, such as OpenLearning, online classes, virtual classes, and so on, which is very interesting. Cheaper cost, and you'd be able to take them in small amounts. Don't you think so? Yeah, that was pretty interesting. Thank you very much for the speech. Up next, we have Sheina Mary. She graduated from the University of Philippines. She served as the city councillor of Tabaco City for 3 terms, 9 years. She was an Obama leader in the Asian Pacific region in Taiwan, and she was listed in the world's 100 most influential young people in government. Sheina Mary, the title for you today is Values-Based Leadership and Governance. The stage is yours.
Good day, everyone. Warm greetings to all from the Philippines.
Thank you.
There has never been a more important time for us leaders to provide critical values-based leadership to our organizations and communities. With the challenges of COVID-19, disasters, calamities, we have been stricken by, well, a super typhoon here in the city 2 weeks ago. And now we barely recover. We're barely recovering. It is unlikely that we will manage ourselves out of these situations and instead need to rely on our leadership skills to respond to today's issues and lead our organizations and communities forward to a safer and less uncertain place. Leaders, we may change our strategy, our approach, especially now that it's the new normal, but we hardly change our values, our beliefs, our principles. I have served for 9 years or 3 terms as City Council member of Tabaco City in the province of Albay here in the Philippines. I was elected, got the second highest number of votes at age 22. But early on, it has been clear to me that leadership is never about position. Leadership is influence. Governance is not only confined among government or elected officials, governance is shared and it is all about service. We lead and we serve wherever we are. And this has been my core value, servant leadership. Values-based leadership is the idea that leaders should draw upon their values for direction and motivation. And at its core, values-based leadership philosophy asserts that people are mostly motivated by values and live according to these beliefs. As such, it is critical that we understand our values because this lead us toward the desired vision for our organization, for our community. What is core value? It is a principle that guides you, your organization, as well as your organization's relationship with the external world. Now, let me ask you, student leaders, what do you value the most? Of course, you are studying in a technological university. You are passionate about changing the world. You are passionate about your course. But let's take a moment to reflect. What is it that you value the most? What kind of changes that you desire for yourself and your organization and for your country? What kind of culture do you dream for your organizations to share together for your vision?
Excuse me.
And out of all the people
Like
you work with, that you have encountered, what was the most novel mindset
yeah,
or
I think you might
underlying values that led up
tab.
to the key decision?
I think you might need to close a Facebook tab of yours because it's echoing over here,
Oh,
if you wouldn't mind. Yes.
I am not using Facebook
Okay.
or anything,
Okay.
any tab for that matter. Yeah,
Give me
this is my.
2 minutes, Miss Sheina. Give me 2 minutes. Let me get back.
It's echoing.
I hope it's not my internet.
Is it because of the internet? Is it maybe she can continue, right? Yeah, you can continue, Sheina.
Yes, I can continue. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sophia. Thank you. So number one, it is critical to understand the difference between leadership and management. Maybe you've heard this no from before, but let me refresh you. Management is best described as the important technical work of getting the job done. But leadership, it is best described as encouraging and supporting people toward a new direction or vision. Managers, they focus on transactions and things, but leaders, they focus on relationships and people. What I'm trying to say is that you put heart into everything that you do. You put love in everything that you do. The central core or the core of your visions, your goals must be relationships. It is critical that we understand the difference between these two important skills and that our organizations should, in our organizations, this have to be institutionalized. Number 2, develop your own leadership philosophy. Write it down and hold yourself accountable to it. Not everybody writes their vision like in plain tablet or in black and white, or in a place that they can see every day. It is important to have personal leadership philosophy, as it is critical to creating an organizational culture based on values, but it must be written down. It must be written down. I remember in Habakkuk 2:2, it said there, no, that's from the scriptures, it said there, write the vision on plain tablets so that it would be clear for the people to run with you. Number 3, engage and empower people to achieve your vision. This is what I'm telling you. It is important to write it down so that people around you will be empowered, so that people around you will be able to collaborate with you. The philosophy that organizational collaboration is the best tool to foster innovation and move communities forward. So this is an important key to leadership. And number 4, understand your own values and your desired values for your organization. The organizational values are not posters on a wall or a motivational cheer that is recited every day before opening doors to the public. Instead, values come from the individuals who work in an organization. You can be encouraged and shaped by leadership or by a leader seeking to unify the group toward common behaviors and actions to achieve a goal. When values of members and the organization are in sync, synergy occurs and energy levels and work output increase. In a particular research, it's noted that the importance of this among leaders is that 94% of the participants in that particular study said that that only 9% would verbalize their vision. Only a third would say they struggle. They struggle with values and leadership work in their organizations. So what is clear here is that while we generally see the difference of leadership work and management work and the importance of focusing on relationships, still we see that rules-based leadership or management focus and not values-based leadership is at work in many organizations. Often, as students, as professionals, we tend to focus on our management skills, and it's very critical for us that we do this and that we focus on our why and how to translate it into action. Before I continue, I would like to share a short video to all of you. This was 5 years ago when I met President Barack Obama at the White House.
So, yeah, young lady right here.
Can somebody? Yes. Please share the video.
So, yeah, young lady right here. Mabuhay.
Mabuhay, Mr. President. I'm Sheina Onrubia, a City Council member of Tabaco City, Albay, Philippines. There are a few elected officials among Wise Elite Fellows. I really would like to know, what is your word of advice for young, budding political leader, young legislator, elected official, like me, in a developing democracy like the Philippines? Thank you.
That's great. Well, I think my first advice is don't be shy, and obviously you're okay. I think you're going to do great. I think that when I think about my own political career, when I look at other political careers that I admire, I think the most important thing is to have a sense of principles and why you're in public service. I think sometimes people want to be in public service just because they like seeing their name up in lights. They like being important. And that's a bad reason to go into politics. You know, you should be like a actress or a singer or, you know, or make a lot of money. But if you're going into politics and public service, there's only one good reason to do it, and that is because you want to help people. And you should know what it is that you stand for and what you believe in. It doesn't mean that you won't have to compromise. It doesn't mean that you might not change your mind about an issue as you go forward and you learn more and you have more experience. But you should have something inside of you that says, these are the things that are really important to me that I will not compromise on. So if you have a clear view of what you stand for, then as you move forward, you'll have setbacks. There'll be times where you didn't succeed. There'll be times where you're frustrated. There'll be times you might even lose an election sometimes. But at least you'll know every morning when you wake up and you look at yourself in the mirror, I know who I am and why I'm doing what I'm doing. And I think those are the people who eventually end up having successful careers because people sense that integrity and that leadership. Even if they don't agree with you, at least they know you believe in something. And unfortunately, too many politicians, you know, they're just climbing the ladder, but they don't know why. And when they get there, then they're not very effective leaders. Or they become much more subject to the temptations of corruption because all they're worried about is I want to hang on to my power, and I'm willing to give up anything in order to stay in power and do anything to stay in power. And that's when you lose your way, right? You have to be willing to lose something for your principles. You have to be willing to lose an election because you think that there's something that's more important than you just winning an election. And if you do that, no. But you have to, you know, you should try to win. I'm not saying you should try to lose. But you have to stand for something. That's my most important advice.
This video becomes so true to me these days. You know, just last year, the greatest setback in my political career happened when I lost an election, and I lost by 89 votes. So what President Obama advised me has come to pass. Even if we lose an election, I tried to win that election. I did my best. But there are many, many factors that contributed to that setback I experienced. And to end this short message, I'd like to share with you just 4 principles very quickly. No, and these 4 principles helped me move forward because I was focused on my why. Number 1, to be a values-based leader, you must focus on self-reflection. You must have the ability to identify and reflect on what you stand for, what your values are, and what matters most to you. And to be a values-based leader, you must be willing to look within yourself through regular self-reflection and strive for greater self-awareness. After all, if you aren't self-reflective, how can you truly know yourself? If you don't know yourself, how can you internalize organizational values of your own? Number 2, balance. This refers to the ability to see situations from multiple perspectives and differing viewpoints to gain a much fuller understanding. Balance means that you consider all sides and opinions with an open mind. The point to emphasize is that even while we subscribe to the same values, we can still have differing interpretations and perspectives, and we must recognize this. And number 3, self-confidence. Accepting yourself as you are. You recognize your strengths, your weaknesses, and strive for continuous improvement. With true self-confidence, you know that there will always be people who are more gifted, more accomplished, more successful, and so are you. But it's okay. Self-confidence also helps you to recognize other merits and true potential and be able to engage and work with them for the greater good. And lastly, but definitely not the least, humility. This is the principle of genuine humility. Never forget who you are or where you come from. Genuine humility keeps life in perspective, particularly as you experience success or even failure in your career. It helps you value each person you encounter and treat everyone respectfully. My loss in the elections still a gain for me because I know that I was able to do that, or that loss happened because I stuck with my values and not compromise with what I value the most, and that is honesty and integrity as a public official. Thank you, and remember, we leaders, we create the change in our community as we live out the values that we have. Thank you, and may God bless all of us.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so much for all the tips, Sheina. I love you. You are doing great, a great job, you see. And a lovely presentation. So keep inspiring people, yeah? So I have to call the third keynote speaker. We have co-founder and CEO of RunCloud. He graduated from UTM Malaysia, listed in the 2020 Forbes 30 Under 30 Asia for Enterprise Technology, a certified Alibaba e-founder 2019, made a RunCloud a regional winner for Startup World Cup 2018 and represent Malaysia amongst top 28 company in Silicon Valley. With the keynote title, Be Ready for Real World, Tips before and after graduate. We have Mr. Arif Tukiman. Mr. Arif Tukiman, the stage is yours.
Hello, everyone. Thank you again for inviting me, and this is a great pleasure to be here. And I think I will share with. There's a few things. There's a few points that I want to share during my session, and I will share my slides. And I will share my slides. Can you see my slides?
Yes, yes, we can see.
All right, you can see my slide, right? All right. So my topic here, I pick a be ready for real world tips before and after graduate. All right. So I will reflecting about when I was as a student in UTM and what I do, and before and after graduate, being as entrepreneur, or even if you wanted to be achieve in your what your career path look like. Right. So I want to questions what is your ambition in career? All right, because I'm running my own company, RunCloud. Even I have few other companies. I develop my own software house development companies and RunCloud, which is under a segment of like a computer science. All right, and before being selected into that course, I wanted to be an architect after high school, and even computer science is my very least choice. All right, it's my fifth choice after the SPM. So before that, I am Arif Tukiman, the co-founder and CEO of RunCloud. I was in UTM computer science degree 2010 to 2014, and then I finished my study in master in computer science in 2016. All right, if you wanted to know about me, you can reach to my profile ariftukiman.com. So the first one, I talk about the ambition. I wanted to be as an architect. I love the technical drawings during the high school, and then whatever I need, I even didn't have my own personal computer, all right, my own laptop. Once I entered to UTM, then I bought my very first laptop. I still remember a Dell version like Celeron, something like that. So the thing is, many said that student life is a golden life. All right, student life is a golden life. As a student, how's your current life looks like? Try to reflect back. What is your current life looks like as a student? So during the pandemic time, I'm pretty sure many of you been facing a lot of issues, problems about them. Maybe you don't have any kind of good internet connections. Everything needs to be online, but things are getting changed with the new norm. So after graduate, you might think about either you want to keep studying, either you want to get married, start a business, be an entrepreneur, job search, prepare the resumes and all. This is the normal standard. This is as a student, after graduate, before graduate, it's like you went to class, meet the lecturers, a few courses and all. After graduate, this is the normal one. The thing is, many students, 99%, I would say this is just my number, 99% of the students, they went to universities or colleges because of they wanted what the ambitions and what is the career path they wanted to be. So this is the first question that before you enter, you need to really understand what you want to be and what is the career path. So I want to share it now. I picked this just a minutes before. I read the few news. There's a lot of retrenchment happens. All right, there's a lot of job losses in the Malaysia, in the Asian, even in the global scale. So many are feeling the pain, and it will get worse. I'm not saying that I want to scare you guys. As a student, you need to understand what is the current issue, which is the pandemic. It's the big, and it's the global issues around the world. COVID-19, and then many job losses. Meaning number of unreported retrenchments worrying, says Minister. I did this just a few screenshots I just want to share. So the thing is, I want within 15 to 20 minutes, I will share the few tips how we can survive, how you guys as a student can survive even during the challenging time. Meaning that the preparations, the checklists, the things that need to be done. After graduated, now what? After graduation, what will you need to do? And are you ready? So that is the big question. The first point, I think students need to start think through and to adapt and to be very open. Because adaptations, a change in the way of life that allows people to survive in the particular environment. During the new normal, the new norm in Malaysia or everywhere, you need to start to adapt. So how? I will share with you. Before and after. Before and after graduate, these are, I think, 3 needs to be in every student. First, mind. Second is portfolio. It's not about the portfolio. It's not about you create a very nice resume. It's all about your skills. Skill and skill. The third one is your network. To do that, first thing first, you need to very understand about what is your strength. What is your weakness, what is your opportunities, and what is the threat around. Put on your paper and write down this. You write down what is your current strength and what is your weakness. I think by having this, then you will know what to prepare and what to do before, and then you can plan ahead after you graduate. All right. Take a challenge now. After you've done the SWOT analysis about yourself, you be prepared, and then take a challenge now. What I mean by take a challenge now, you need to create as many as, a new task for yourself. You need to understand about the new trend. Maybe if you are computer science or you are in other courses, there's a lot of opportunity that you need to upskill your own current. What is the current knowledge that you need to upskill? Take a challenge now, be positive, stay positive, and then learn from it, because there is so many resources available on the net that you can reach and try to learn from, even from the YouTube, even from the Facebook, even from the friends, even from the lecturers. So take a new task of yourself and then learn from it. All right. I think most of the students right now, even today, they treat the assignments just an assignment. Okay. Before you as a student, you will treat assignment just an assignment. What I would want to say now, this assignment is your first portfolio. This is your first experience on how you understand about your skills that needed to be in the industry. All right? Because from the assignment, you learn what skills that needed to complete the assignment. So treat your assignment as a very good task and do it very passionately, because this assignment can lead you to create a better portfolio after you graduate. Not only assignment, you need to start create a very good final year project or FYP. Learn as many skills that needed to complete and make your FYP stand out from other students. Make yourself like very stand out, and that FYP could be a great portfolio of yourself after you graduate. Why I say this, even I'm running my own company, I know what exactly that I need as an employer from the fresh graduates. Because even in computer science, it's been a very saturated market. If you wanted to find a job, even a non-degree holders also can get a better skill of yourself. So now you need to enhance, you need to upskills you need to enhance the skills when you do the final year project. It's all about the teamwork, leadership, communication skills. Even you will learn about very deep into the community skills and time management when you do the project. All right, because I think even me, when I was a student, assignments and FYP, we treat sometimes as a burden of ourselves. So when you graduated, you didn't realize that it actually will help you when you trying to find a job or trying to fit into the real world. So first, treat your assignments and FYP as, you need to do a very patient when you do this kind of task. Make friends with lecturers. So I think I talk about the mind. Once you start to jump into the positive minds, then you can accept as many challenges when you do the assignments and the FYP. So third one, the network. The first one, I think this is a good pitch. I just want to share. During the time when I was in UTM, I make a good network all around within the lecturers. Make a friends wherever the new knowledge that I don't want. I don't know for specific assignments or specific project that I needed skills. Even you can find on the net, maybe on the YouTube or somewhere else. But the first thing first, it's the best if you can meet your lecturers and understand well about the knowledge. All right. So make friends with your lecturers is a good start to create a good network all around you. If lecturers respect you and you respect your lecturers, I guarantee that you will create a better network and you will create a very good professional network all around you. So to create a good network, a good network, first of all, you also need to improve your personal brand and attitude. It's not meaning that personal brand is you being social media, Insta famous and all. Not that. I mean the personal brand that reflect to your attitude. Put a very nice profile picture, update your LinkedIn. Don't try to control yourself when it comes to the social, Facebook, Twitter, because in this challenging time, many companies, because there is so many skillful person out there, but the thing is they always put the attitude as the first place. When they saw that there are so many things in your social medias, bashing your people and your personal attitudes that can reflect you, hard to get a job. All right. So first, you put a very good open mind, be positive and stay positive. Take a challenge and learn as many skills as you need to do. Put your assignments at a good rate. Do it passionately, your FYP, and then when it's come to the before you enter the real world, you need to make sure your personal brand and attitude on the net and the social, you need to make very professionally. All right. So another tip is when you do the assignments and then you do FYP, final year project, and also you done in internship. All right. So internship is one of the great experience that you need to learn from. All right. So put all your assignments, projects, and internship works on a single portfolio, and make sure that portfolio can be easily reached and available on the net. I mean, you create your own personal maybe domain, or maybe just use a free domain like Wix. So this thing will create a better experience for your potential employers. All right. So because this is the thing, I think many companies are now receiving a lot of emails, job requests. So we tend to filter by, wherever the candidates that easy to reach, we will filter them first. All right. The second one, please make sure every live projects or demo don't put in the zip file. You need to put all your project and portfolios that can be easily accessible online. If needed to be, you need to create your own maybe demo video about the project that you have done, the works that you already done during the internship. Just showcase about the good things about what you have done during the student time and the internship. So this video and the good portfolios will help you to be a very standout compared to other students. All right. So I think this is the thing that you need to keep notes and be prepared. So I just want to share that during my student life, I went to a lot of free events. In UTM, in many universities, there's a lot of free events, courses, webinars, even in the online world, there's a lot of free webinars. Try to join and learn from the others. All right, this is me. When I have achieved during my student life. This is the hackathon event. I develop games. This is also the hackathon event, the DBS Back Hackathon Challenge. in 2014 in Singapore. The second runner-up, developed the app for bank. Join as many as competitions and learn how to, create a good business model and all. Best student enterprise, and I won 10,000 ringgit. This is why I share this. Because it really reflects what I have done in the past, and the tip that I just want to share with you. Because as a student, you need to be ready, even in this very challenging time, pandemic. You need to be ready right now. It's not after you graduate. You need to be ready right now, and that is the thing that what I think I need to share. This is the picture after I graduated in 2014. Many of my friends, they are preparing a good resumes, a good portfolios, try to finding a job. But me, I try to take a new challenge that I need to finish up my, to set up the company and all. So this is my first table in UTM. From alone that I have a team. All the many of my juniors joining my company at that time until now. And today, Alhamdulillah, RunCloud is now completed 3 years running the company, and we are managing over 350,000 application domains across 100 plus countries, and majorly our customers are coming from US and the UK and India. Malaysia is still amongst top 5. So this is I just want to share about RunCloud a bit, and then about 10 plus award of achievement during RunCloud. So the thing is, as a student, you cannot be a standalone. You need to help each other, because by helping each other, your knowledge will getting better day by day. So try to help your friends, try to help your even lecturers, and inshallah your knowledge and your skills will be getting better. All right. So it's all about 100% self-development. You cannot depend on anybody else. You need to depend on you. To do all this, to prepare, to get prepared by now, you need to start 100% self-development of yourself. You need to learn, you need to pick up a very good new skills, new knowledge, and learn as many as from the webinars, from the workshop, and try to make sure that whatever you learn is fit into the current market needs. All right, into the industry needs. This is what I done. Within 3 years running the RunCloud, it's not only develop a product and the company, but I'm also developed the community all around. So I went to US, London, UK, done more than 10 meetups across the big cities all around Jakarta in Indonesia. So the thing is, this need to be very clear about the trend that you are learn from the new knowledge and the idea. All right, think big, and what's next? Need to understand that success is not the destinations. Success is journey. Make sure your parents and family are part of your journey. All right. I think the last, you need to work hard, smart, tawakal. Inshallah, you'll be success wherever it is. In Al-Quran already said, fa innamal yusra. So with the hardship, there is relief. All right. So thank you. I hope that you guys, all of you, understand what the points that I already put on the slides, and I hope that this session will be continued greatly. And thank you, everyone.
Alhamdulillah, that was a wonderful speech. Really enjoyed it. I took down some of his points as well, Mr. Arif's points, about a lot of individual points about treating people passionately, assignments passionately, about making friends with lecturers, improving your personal brand, getting a personal domain, and having a portfolio on it. Everything was individual, and then I thought to myself, is it just about us? Is this how the tips go about in graduation? Until he sort of ended it with help others. And that sort of gave it the holistic approach that I really enjoyed. And yes, I will take it to heart and I will work on it. Thank you very much, Mr. Arif. Up next, we have,
Sure. Thank you.
not least, we have Thompson Sheng, who has a lot of experience working with youth on the ground. Let me read out some of his accomplishments. He is the award-winning international alumnus from the University of Curtin. He is an international speaker and global citizen. He is a former national president and founding member of the Council of International Students in Australia. Makes me wonder if we should have one in Malaysia as well. He is also the vice president of ASEAN Youth Organization. He also founded this is the biggest accomplishment. He's the International Alumni of the Year awarded by the Global PIEoneer Awards for 2020. Mr. Thompson Sheng, your topic for today is Reimagining the Future and Global Citizenship. The stage, or may I say the screen, is yours, Mr. Thompson.
Well, thank you so much, Niza, for the really wonderful and warm introduction. Assalamualaikum dan salam sejahtera. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, depending on where you are. And I think this is the beauty of today's world, where we are all joining from different parts of the world, and we can actually be in the same platform thanks to technology. Before I start, I should first acknowledge if there are any potential distinguished guests who are in our audience today. Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellors, teachers, professionals, but more importantly, our student leaders who are here. It's exciting to be here. It is an absolute privilege to be here. And I should say, it is actually quite hard. It's quite true when people say it's hard to always go and, when you're speaking after three very distinguished speakers. And in my other personal capacity, I know both Adam and Sheina through my other involvement. And certainly these two are really inspiring people, and it's good to have them here. As they were talking, they certainly not just kept the standard that I've sort of known them when I first met them. They certainly brought a lot of sharings and knowledge to this audience. And obviously, Arif, is my first time coming across you, and I can tell that you are a really great success story, alumni success story for UTM. I wanted to take this opportunity to also thank the organizing team of this event, University Technology Malaysia, and also the Asian Technological University Network, ATU-Net. And I should take this opportunity to say my thanks specifically to Prof. Niza from the UTM International. And in fact, Prof. Niza is somebody that I really hold so much respect for, because our topic for today is also to do with leadership, right? Student leadership. And I remember when I first met her, and this is back in 2016, when I was actually a project manager person for the Education Malaysia Australia in Sydney, in Australia, where we actually put together in an event, the first ever Malaysia Australia Tertiary Education Conference. And I remember that, we sort of invited many international audiences, obviously in Malaysia. We're hoping that universities will sort of come over to get connected with some of the Australian universities. And she was one of the first few who actually responded, and actually so enthusiastic. And actually, it was very short notice, but she managed to, somehow get approval and flew all the way to Sydney. And for that, I see great character in her, and I see great leadership in her as well. So I must say that, because it's a UTM associated event, UTM International, is so great that you have a person like Prof. Niza in your team who actually knows the subject so well, who actually knows about the needs of international students. So thank you so much for that. A disclaimer, whatever I'm going to present here today are certainly my personal views. It does not represent the views of any organization that I might be affiliated with. Of course, it also does not, the information that I'm going to share is not something that I own. What I'm going to share today, and I have presentation slides which I will bring up, basically based on my personal experience, based on what I've observed, and I hope that this will certainly be helpful to student leaders. And thinking about student leaders, I remember when I was back there during my time when I was a student leader, I studied at Curtin University, and in fact, the word technology is something that is very close to my heart. I remember that when I was choosing which university to study, and this is about 10 years ago, and obviously I've chosen Curtin University in Australia, and I had a scholarship for that, so I was really lucky for me to sort of pursue my further education in Australia. I'm originally from Penang, Malaysia. Okay, and the reason, and not sure if you know about this, but Curtin University, obviously they have a campus in Miri in Sarawak, but the original name or the old name of Curtin University is actually Curtin University of Technology. So in Australia, there's also a group called the Australian Technology Network. It's like an equivalent of ATU-Net here. And Curtin University is actually part of that group because they are a technological university. And I think that all of, particularly our audience here who are student leaders, and if you're part of this, you're studying in one of these technological university or institution, is something that you should absolutely be very proud of yourself, because the word technology, for me, it associates with creativity and innovations. And I think these two are very strong skills that is very much needed. And as you can tell from Arif's presentation and also Adam's presentations, and by the way, I do agree with many of the things that has been said by our previous speakers. They were fantastic. Is that sense of having, that innovative spirits. It should be in your DNA, let's put it that way. So, and I do have to say that, you made a right choice to be associated with a university that is, from a technological kind of background. Now, today I'm going to share about reimagining the future, the role of youth and global citizenship, something that I'm very passionate about. And to do that, I will just pull on my slides. Okay. And I'm going to break my presentations into 3 parts. The first part is on reimagining the future, because of the word reset in the overall theme of this event. So I come up with the sort of a theme that supports this overarching theme called reimagining the future. And I'm going to talk about the role of youth, and I'm going to end with what I mean about global citizenship. So before we actually talk about reset, I think it is important for us to first reimagine. But before you reimagine, it is very important for you to actually first reflect. And because it is a technological topic that I wanted to really share with you, I wanted to do some reflection. And this is something that all of you would have known already. Is something that is, these are facts, these are history. These are not something that is rocket science. Now, I will not go too far away, but let's start in 1989. That's where you already have computer, internet, fax machines. And then obviously in that year, you have the World Wide Web. And obviously, if you look at all the website, it starts with sort of www. That's World Wide Web, www. And for those of you who are old enough to know this, in 1995, you have this MSN Messenger, and then 96, you have ICQ came up. So it's kind of the social sort of networking side back then. And then in 2002, you have Friendster. And when we enter into the year 2000 or after 2000, you started to see things like Facebook came up, YouTube came out, Twitter, WhatsApp, TikTok, right? And in fact, when I was listening to what Adam was sharing about his story, it reminded me about Mark Zuckerberg, who is the founder of Facebook, because the idea of Facebook came when, he was in a university, right? And I really echo and agree with what Adam was saying early on about university providing that safety net, and also things that Arif talked about, providing that platform for you to make mistake and to learn. So this is a really great, it's a very exciting time. And there can never be a more exciting time to be a student at university, because it's when you make mistake and you learn. And obviously you have in Airbnb and Uber and Grab who came out in the later years. Now these are all technologies, right? These are all new knowledge. So I guess the question is, we are in the year of 2020. what is 2020 and beyond? And 2020 is coming to an end, obviously. Now, I purposely do not provide answer for this question because I think you have the answer already, or if you haven't, I'm sure you will have the answer with you, because everyone is unique. Whether you are a computer scientist, whether you are a chemical engineer, whether you are a mechanical engineer, or you are researchers in medical fields, you are doing something great. You are actually revolutionizing the world. The question is for you to actually find out what's next, because the life cycle is getting very short. And every couple of years and possibly a couple of months, there are new things that came out because of technology. And the role of youth and technology, it always comes, is interlinked because of the reality that, generally speaking, youth are very tech savvy. And even though I agreed with what Adam was saying about everyone, regardless of your age, should be the continuing lifelong learner, is very important. But I think as a youth, you should embrace technology. And in fact, I've started to see, and this is something that everyone would know as well, you've started to become a connector, engager, and to a certain extent, influencer. And you create change by using technology. And one of the recent examples was, I remember it was a student in Sabah, Viviana. And if you remember, she was the student from UMS who actually have issue about digital divide and couldn't get access to internet, and she makes something out from YouTube, and it becomes sort of it created a lot of attention. But guess what? After that, I saw that the Malaysian ministers, Minister YB Kari Jamaluddin, and even the Prime Minister, Yang Ahmad Berhad Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, actually when they were in Sabah, they actually met up with her. So that is a great example of how technology has sort of played a role in that. I mean, think about that 10, 20, 30 years ago. I mean, that kind of opportunities don't exist. But, because of technology, a lot of things is possible. And I think youth is a strategic partner. And the reason why I say that is because we need to look into long term. And we have started to see a lot of things like technology that has been invented by young people. And if you look at most of the new inventions, the world's greatest invention, all of them are young people who are the founders of this. So that tells you a lot that you are in the best time of your life to make an impact and to create something that contributes to the society. So embrace the technology. But I wanted to add on the tips here that if you haven't already noticed, we are sort of coming into a gig economy kind of trend. And if you're not familiar with the terms gig economy, I'm sure you will be able to look it up in the internet. But it is a flexible economy. It gives people a lot of short-term but flexible kind of work style. And this is an increasing trend in many countries as well. Things like Uber, Airbnb, these are all examples of gig economy, okay? And I wanted to sort of end by talking about global citizenship. And I know that I can tell that based on my observations, there are many questions and comments already, which is very exciting from you. So make sure you continue to ask questions. Make sure you ask the sharpest and most intelligent questions and direct them to the 3 other panelists. But I'll be there as well later on to answer your questions. But okay, global citizenship, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I think we need to start to look into this concept, because this is the way how I would illustrate global citizenship is based on this picture that I've just put on here. Right in the middle, a country, right? And then the next layer out is the region, followed by global. And if you notice that I purposely, I'm not sure if you can tell, but it's actually a dotted line. It's not a full line, it's dotted line, because you are a citizen of, whether or not you are a citizen of, let's say, a Malaysian citizen, you are also a citizen of the Southeast Asia region, but you're also a citizen of the world. And if you're a citizen of, let's say, Nigeria, but you're also a citizen of the African region, but more importantly, you are also the citizen of the world, right? So the key to global citizenship, and I really like this concept because it for me, I define global citizenship as somebody who really think globally, but you also act globally. Act locally, because it's good to think globally, because you need to know what's happening around the world. And I'll tell you why later in my next slide, right? But at the same time, you also need to be able to find solutions and contribute to the wider society. And that's where you actually act locally. And the reason why I think global citizenship is so important is, I just throw a couple of examples here: global warming, clean water, energy, human trafficking, quality education. Question is that, are these global issues or local issues? Now, for me, I think they are both global issues and also local issues. And the reason for that is simple. Global warming, or increasing temperature, yes, you can feel that at home in your home country, but it's also happening in other countries and across the world, in fact, right? And when you have global warming, you have issues like the melting of the icebergs in the northern region or the Antarctica. And that's where you have the issue of rising water level, which is very concerning, because water level rising means that things like some of the islands will disappear. And if you think about countries like Philippines, where Sheina comes from, and Indonesia, where you have many islands, these are concerning issues that is, I think it's not just a matter for that particular country, but it is a global issues. Now, obviously, human trafficking and quality education. Quality education, I want to talk about that because you may or may not realize that having a quality education is so important, because it does rise the living standards of the society by having a high quality education. And in today's world, we rely so much on international trade, export, imports. You are selling your products and services to another countries. Obviously, like what Arif was saying, his businesses is expanding to across the world. By having quality education, you increase that quality of life, which means that the economy of other countries may get better. We have more higher developed economy. People have a stronger consumption power. That means that they can also consume more. So these are global issues, ladies and gentlemen. And I think that whether or not regardless of which institutions you are studying at and where you are studying at, it is important for all of us to continue to be an advocate for quality education. I know that one of the speakers, one of the student leaders later on will talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, but I just thought that this is, if you haven't really come across this, I think you should take a good look on these. Look up for SDG, Sustainable Development Goals 2030. Often people think that this is a United Nations kind of thing, but for me, I think this is not a United Nations goals. This is our goals. This is the citizens' goals. And these are something that we should actually own, particularly as a young leader. Things like no poverty, zero hunger, affordable and clean energy, peace, justice, and strong institutions. These are something that we should actually not just understand, but try to, when you're doing things in your daily life, try to do something that actually contribute to the SDG. And I don't think as a society, we talk a lot, we haven't had enough conversation about SDG. And I think that not just the government and policymakers, but schools, education institutions, universities, or even local councils, people should start actually looking into embracing the goals, because the earth, there's only one earth for every one of us. If we don't take actions, I think particularly as young leaders, you have still a long way to go, 40, 30, 50, 60, 70, depending on obviously how long, but not just during your lifespan, but also the next generations and the generations to come. And I think we need to be a responsible citizen. So as a global citizen, embrace SDGs, very important. So I wanted to conclude now, and I want to actually first conclude by talking about IQ, EQ, and CQ. And for those of you who are not familiar with this, IQ is something that is intelligent quotient. It's something that people talk a lot I think this is back in 30 years or 40 years ago. IQ is about intelligent mindset, that knowledge, that information that you have with you. And then I think about 10 years or 20 years ago, we started to see a trend where people start talking about EQ. And these are some of the things that Adam talked about in his presentation, about that analytical skills, problem-solving skills, how to deal with people is so important, right? Having both IQ and EQ is very important. But I think there's another thing that people have started to talk about that, but you may or may not realize this, but it's something called CQ. And it stands for cultural intelligence. And the reason why I raised this up, and cultural intelligence, by the way, is your ability to communicate cross-culturally. I mean, by sitting in this forum and talking to you, and also to other panelists itself, we have people from different parts of the world. And we have to acknowledge that everyone comes from different cultural background, and there's some sort of cultural sensitivity and knowledge that we need to be aware of for you to be a global citizen. And this is where you can, and particularly with today's technological era, the world is getting smaller and smaller, and everyone you are able to easily make friends from around the world. It is more important for you, if you're starting a global business, if you're actually wanting to get a job in the global big corporations, or you wanted to do business with anyone around the world, you need to make sure that you have that knowledge about CQ. So I agree. I think our world is getting more and more complicated. It's not just IQ. Now you have EQ, and then you also need CQ. But I think having that mindset, understand that mindset, but more importantly, be resilient is important. The quote that I wanted to share here to end, and I have another quote as well. I have two quotes today. And the first quote is actually from a former Minister of Higher Education in Malaysia, Dato Sri Idris Juso. And I got this quote in one of the speeches that he has given when I was sitting, like all of you, sitting there as an audience, listening to people talking on the stage. And he says this: ultimately, technology is a tool. People come first. Its purpose should be centered on humanity and public interest, where tolerance, respect, care, and compassion come into play. And eventually it boils down to the culture and values. And within the fourth industrial revolution, or the Industrial Revolution 4.0, ushering a new cultural renaissance, it will need a collective wisdom. Now, what does that mean, ladies and gentlemen? The key word here is technology is a tool. We must understand that technology, at the end of the day, is a tool. It is the people, and the people are the one who creates things and technology, right? So people obviously comes first. And we can't deny the fact that there needs to be things like tolerance, respect, acceptance against, with acceptance for one another in the society. But the last point that he made here is collective wisdom, which means that nobody has the ultimate answer to all the challenges that we're facing now. It needs collective wisdom and collective actions. And my final quote of today is actually a person that I've been following, and I know that this is also one of the favorite person of Sheina as well. He's the 44th president of the United States of America, Barack Obama. And you may or may not aware that his new book is being launched soon. It's called A Promised Land. And one of the quote in his book here is that he's inviting young people to once again remake the world, and to bring about, through hard work, determination, a big dose of imagination. Again, the key word here is a big dose of imagination. Now, to actually sum up what I've just mentioned early on, I think today's topic, the main overarching theme of this event is obviously reset, right? There's a word reset there, resetting, the new society. But before we reset, we need to first reflect, and after that, we reimagined what the future may look like, and then you can do the resetting. So this is the words from President Obama, the 44th president of the United States. So that's pretty much the end of the presentation of mine, and I like to show you again this photo because I think that regardless of who you are and where you come from and what are the challenges you may be facing in your life, there's always sunrise at the end of the day. Sorry, in the beginning of the day. That actually tells you one thing is there's always brightness and hope if you're walking through a dark time or a tunnel. So keep positive and stay safe, of course. And I look forward to a very interactive panel discussions and Q&A with our other panelists as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Apologies. I really enjoyed the presentation there. Think global, act local. I love that phrase. I love that phrase. I think I understand, like, as youth, I understand my role better, not just on a local scale, but rather from a global scale as well. So thank you for opening perspectives. Also, I've loved the recurring, very, very, how do you say this, collective message all the speakers have had so far, which I enjoyed. I've been taking notes down. We have like 4 A4 sheets so far. Without further ado, let's jump into Q&A real quick.
Okay, we have one question from Mohammed Ismail Mohammed Said. Well, he is the Pro Vice Chancellor from UTM International. This question is to address to Sheina Marie. Youth leaders bring passion to the job and mission, but sometimes passion alone does not make up for the lack of experience and wisdom. So what are the things that a youth leader have to do to compensate these and become a successful and effective leader? Wow, what a great question.
Thank you for the question. Yes, thank you also to our moderators for reading the question and for the great facilitation. This has been a problem here in the Philippines. We are a democratic country, and the requirement in our constitution or in the law, under the law, is that somebody who can read and write. So there is actually no requirement for a higher degree of learning for one to become a leader. How to compensate? How to compensate to become a successful and effective leader when one has only the heart and the passion. It starts with that. It starts with the heart and the passion. So if you are that person, and you have that sense of purpose, you are passionate about changing the world or making a difference, I think this kind of forum, attending this kind of forum and other opportunities or learning opportunities would make you more capable, would equip you to learn to innovate, to adopt, for example, in this new normal. So I think it's very important that you are open to new things, you are innovative, and you are humble, that you are willing not to work with other people and collaborate. So thank you.
I agree. That was a very beautiful answer. When I was thinking how if you don't have experience, heart and passion, that was really well rounded. And now let's go on to our next question. Let's see. Najib Iqmal, he says he's from USM. He previously had to conduct an enterprise during his degree study, but now he wants to change his scope into agriculture. He says, how does he sustain and develop his branding? So I'm assuming this one goes to Mr. Arif, since you talked a bit on personal branding.
Hello, Najib Iqmal, all right, from USM. Thank you for your question. It's very good questions. So you had a conduct at enterprise during your degree, and you changed the scope into agriculture. So when we talk about branding, is cover the entire things. All right, it's not only about the product and services. It's cover the entire thing. When we talk to sustain and to restart your brand to the new segment, first of all, you need to understand what is the market position that you are in within the agriculture. First, you need to make a very standout. The support behind the product and the services that you are into the new thing, right? So it's quite tricky to sustain. It's not an easy way, and I think first you need to understand all around the target audience in agriculture, and what is the branding value that you wanted to focus. All right, try this down. What is the value proposition about your product and services, and what is your audience? All right, and then even put a name, a good name all around is not so important, but it's very important to understand well about the market that you are in. All right. The second one is try to compare with the current ready market. The current ready product and services that are available in the market, and try to understand. Not to replicate. Try to not replicate and copy. Try to understand what is the activities behind when they deliver the products and the services. All right. When talk about agriculture, I think now is a very good time. Even in Malaysia, Asia just announced this our farm is under agriculture that connect the buyer and seller in the bulk scale. So I think first the branding value list. What is the value that you put into on the table? Who are your target audience? And try make comparisons of the current product and service that available in the market, and try to not copy. Try to understand the strategy behind the activities, and then that is the thing that you can sustain and recreate the branding about your your service and product. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arif. Unfortunately, we can't answer all the questions, but we have one last one. Let's see. What do you think of mentoring? This is by Noor Hayati Abdullah. The question is open to any speaker. So Mr. Thompson will be answering.
Okay, thank you so much. I think it's a very, very good question. And I just wanted to say that mentoring is so important. And it's important that anyone particularly as the young leaders, you need to find a mentor and a role model. And when people talk about mentor, you have to understand the concept of mentoring. It doesn't mean that you have to. It doesn't mean that you have to get somebody who is very high up, like all the way to vice chancellor or the prime minister or a CEO. No, it could be a peers. It could be somebody that you are close to, but you have something to learn from, right? So, and the second thing is that when you're actually looking for a mentor, and this is a very funny story because this is a story of somebody else, and I remember that this story, the person was saying that we are trying to get a mentor, and what this person does is, he went to that person and said that, and this is a very high-profile person, he's the CEO of the company, said that, look, can you be my mentor? And obviously he didn't get any reply from there, and he came back and he said that, look, I tried to find a mentor, but I didn't get a reply for that person that I really like to be my mentor. Now, my point here is the right way to do that when you're seriously about looking about a mentor is you talk to that person and try to spend more time with that person. You don't have to specifically go and ask the person to be a mentor, because sometimes people may not want to commit, particularly when they are a very busy person with busy schedule. But you can, however, maintain that relationship with the person and spend as much time as possible from that busy schedule of the person so that you can learn as much as possible. That's the whole concept of mentoring. It doesn't have to be somebody who is a former relationship. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson, for the question, for the answer. I'm sorry. Now, we have one final question to answer, and this is from Ibrahim Gambo. This is, have any of your personal experience helped you become a good leader in any way?
Yeah, we have Adam Brimo. Okay, Adam.
Well, I think being a good leader comes down to a lot of personal experiences, particularly those that are more challenging in your life. So I guess for me, I guess there are probably many points in my life where I wasn't sure if I was able to do something. And sometimes, you know, the response to that is not to do it. You know, you're worried, you're scared of things going wrong. But the way I look at it is, you know, a lot of these experiences, a lot of these decisions, I try and make them on the basis of ensuring that they push me forwards. That, you know, if I'm a bit scared, I'm a bit worried about it, but I know it's an experience that will help me develop, then I try and go for it. Whether that's, you know, a subject at university that you think is a bit challenging, whether it's a job that you're not sure if you'll quite be able to do it. I think that's how you grow, by, you know, sort of jumping into the deep end and putting yourself out there. So I've had a number of those experiences throughout my life, and I feel that, you know, as long as I keep doing that, as long as I keep putting myself in that situation, that's how I'll continue developing as a person. So I encourage you to take some calculated risks.
Interesting response. Thank you, Mr. Adam. That would bring us to the end of our session. Thank you to all the speakers for being here so far. We will finally take a group photo the online way. So there's going to be a screenshot this time. And let's see, we're waiting for Sheina, and there she is. Okay. Who's taking the screenshot again? Okay, they're taking the screenshot. Okay. All right, I'm sure we've taken it. Okay, thank you very much to all the speakers that stayed here so far. We enjoyed it. It was a wonderful session. You've inspired a lot of students from UTM. And yes, that brings us to our final, to our closing. And now we'll show our montage that we've had planned.
Our montage from previous. Welcome back. Yeah, now we are currently in roundtable session. Let me introduce you the first speaker for roundtable. Yeah, she is Shahrunisa Ramli. She is the president of Student Representative Council, University Malaysia Perlis UNIMAT. Yeah, with the title of Youth Revolution. Let's welcome Shahrunisa Ramli.
I think she needs some time to get her screen ready. But till then, I'd like to remind every single one of you still watching to do remember to share it a bit. Do share the knowledge. We've just had a great line of speakers. As you've seen, the speeches were mind-blowing. It's wonderful. I've enjoyed it. I couldn't ask questions I wanted to. Honestly, I'm bummed out, but it's okay. Do share it, because if I had the opportunity, I'd do it too. And so the first speaker has a bit of a technical glitch. It's all right. We move on to the next speaker for today. That would be Hans Jude, who's a student government president of MSU IIT Philippines. He is going to talk on youth and social change. Hans Jude, the stage is yours.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, good morning, and good evening to all of our viewers in this activity of ours. Special thanks to ATU-Net for allowing us to be part of this activity, and most especially for conducting this activity. But before anything else, I'd like to share my screen first so that you guys could see what I wanted to share to you. In this afternoon, most especially, specifically the topic that I would like to discuss. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen, Hans.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so first and foremost, I'd like to thank the organization for inviting us, the ATU-Net Student Leader Forum 2020, the organizing committee, with the theme, The Great Reset, the New World and Society, along with my fellow roundtable speakers from the different countries in Asia, as well as I'd also like to take this opportunity to thank all of our keynote speakers for all the great speeches and for all the learnings that we had during your speeches. Truly, we will keep that in mind, in not only in our minds but also in our hearts. We will keep those lessons and advices that you had shared to us earlier. And of course, we would also like to. I'd also like to thank, of course, the UTM University of Technology Malaysia for hosting this activity at the Net Student Leader. I'm very thankful personally to the university, specifically to our dear Chancellor Sukarno Tanggol, for being part or member of this organization, wherein technology universities are part of. Not only that we are learning from each other, but we are also sharing the good practices from the different universities. And yes, so our theme for this session is the Great Reset, the New World and Society. So when we think about the theme, it has something really big to think of, and a lot of things that come into our minds. But also, before I dive into my topic in my deeper sense of the discussion, I'd also like to take this opportunity as the University of MSU IIT and all the other universities were able to have that link to each other. I'd like to knock on the hearts and your doors, in specifically the situation of the Philippines currently right now. The Philippines is hit by the typhoon Ulysses. Before the typhoon Ulysses, we were also hit by the typhoon Rolly and Shoni. And currently, the Philippines is suffering from the effects of it. As you can see on the photos, it is very much evident in the suffering of my fellow Filipinos. People are on top of their roofs, waiting for rescuers to send them in the safer space or safer refuge, so that as well as to be one with their families again. And although the typhoon has already left and has calmed down the country already, after effects, it's very much evident, showing the typhoon has caused drastic damage to our country and to my fellow Filipinos. It is very much evident how the country is suffering right now and need badly help from our fellow Filipinos, not only Filipinos but as well as our friends from the international area. It is very much evident that the government also is doing their best to provide relief and help to my fellow Filipinos in the Luzon areas, most specifically in Cagayan, in Isabela, in Quezon City, in Pampanga, which is very much is shown in this example, that the flooding in Pampanga shows that when the water is low, it is like this, but when the flooding started, it is like this. The brown areas are the flooding areas that envelopes the land and the houses of my fellow Filipinos. And of course, as most people know, Filipinos are very much resilient, but we could not deny the fact that we really need the help of our friends from the international space. All for our fellow Filipinos, most specifically my friends of student regents and student trustees, have arranged a donation drive to help my fellow Filipinos in the Luzon areas, wherein they accept in-kind donations and cash donations. All of these are posted in the Facebook page, in our Facebook profiles, and you can just easily search that in the internet. Of course, our brothers and sisters, our Muslim brothers and sisters, are also doing their initiatives in helping our fellow Filipinos. So all of the details are posted here, and you can just search them on the internet. So to ease your searching, if you can just type in #UlyssesPH or #RescuePH or #Cagayan needs help. Badly, my fellow Filipinos in the Luzon areas badly need help, and I am trying to take advantage of this platform to tell you guys that, to knock into your hearts and doors. If you guys could help us in sharing this information in the international page, and as well as share it to your friends, so that we could gain more help from you guys. And we thank you for that so much in advance. And I hope that the situation in the Philippines would calm down and would become better in the following days. And that thank you so much for allowing me to share that experience of the Filipinos currently right now, specifically in the Luzon areas. But right now, let's go in our discussion this afternoon, which is the ATU-Net Student Leader Forum 2020, The Great Reset, the New World and Society. So just like what I mentioned earlier, when you think about the theme, there's so much going on in your head. You have a lot of things to think of. Probably you could think of what's after the pandemic, or what's the new norms after the pandemic. Well, basically, we have norms already that we are currently practicing in this time of pandemic. But I don't think that these norms would cease to exist right after the pandemic, when we term it as our new world, because I believe that we have learned our lesson already. And at that time, that we are already knowledgeable about what happened, what caused the pandemic. There's that sense of awkwardness when people don't get close to you, or when people don't wear masks or face shields. There's that sense of awkwardness, right? So I believe that these norms that we are practicing currently in this pandemic would still exist, right after the pandemic. But what's more on the discussion of the norms after the pandemic? Probably you could think we might be discussing on Great Depression and decline of neoliberalism, or the utopia of globalization, decisive geopolitical shifts, or the post-pandemic world. But thankfully, we're not going to discuss about that. But because what I personally wanted to center our discussion is about the youth, and at the same time, as this is about the society, and how the youth could impact the society, how the youth could bring global change or societal change, or what we call a social change, to their respective communities, right? So for anything else, of course, I'd like to introduce myself. I'd like to introduce myself. So I am Hans Juji Ambalong. I am the Student Government President of Mindanao State University Iligan Institute of Technology, Philippines, or the student government we call as kasama, or the kataas-taasang sanggunian ng mga mag-aaral, or the highest student governing body in English terms. And I am thankful that I have become part of the Roundtable's speakers to talk about to you on youth and social change. So before we dive into my topic this afternoon, I'd like to define first what is youth and what is social change. So there's the title of our topic. So first, youth. So persons between the ages of 15 and 24 years old. So according to United Nations, just for statistical purposes, however, it does not degrade the other definitions defined by other entities. But for statistical purposes, youth is defined as persons aged 15 and 24 years, because we could not really define youth, because some others, even though they are already in their 60s, they're already in their 40s or mid 30s, they still call themselves as youth, because for them, forever young, forever young. And of course, let's also dive into our second definition, which is the social change. So social change is the way human interactions and relations transform cultural and social institutions over time, having a profound impact of society. So there are four common causes as recognized by social scientists, and these are technology, social institutions, population, and the environment. And all four of these areas can impact when and how society changes. And they are all interrelated. A change in one area can lead to changes throughout. So basically, if the population changes or the population grows drastically, the other causes would also there would also be social change in the other causes. For example, social institution, technology, and the environment. And when the environment changes, there would also be changes on the other causes as well. So basically, they are interrelated. So now, as we are talking about youth and social change, what I wanted to specify in this topic is that youth as drivers of social change and the power of youth for social change. Now, the question is, how can we actually ensure the power and capability of the upcoming generations? That's the questions that is the question that we actually need to answer, right? Although there are other countries, or there are other places that really put recognition and importance to their youth, but there are those that actually has a less priority to their youth. On statistics, the 7 billion population of the world right now, 18% of that is composed of youth aged 15 to 24. And the ages 14 to 24 are youth coming from developing countries. And this is what we need to understand, that in these developing countries, the youth are very much into discovery, are very much into curiosity, that they wanted to discover in themselves that innovation power, that that they wanted their voices to be heard in a greater arena. And that we need to provide avenue for the youth to share their thoughts, and we need to provide avenue for the youth to take part in the decision making and all others, to recognize that youth are actually part of community building, that the youth are actually part of the nation building, which will soon after transform into developing the world, right? So first thing, because I have three things that I wanted to share to you. This is from Oda Zukin, from the based on the Jasmine Revolution in Tunisia. So first is find young innovators and support their passion and entrepreneurial mindset. Young people have a wide range of skills that can positively turn their current situations, that can positively turn their current situations. But the problem is that there is little attention and focus on this youth-led social innovative and initiatives, and young people don't feel trusted by those who are in the perfect position to help implement and support their ideas. So basically what we need to think of in this is that against the failure of the government in providing jobs and employment, opportunities for youth spreading and nurturing the innovation and entrepreneurial mindset among them would be a great way to fix encountered major problems among those too often marginalized and give them the opportunity to strive ahead, to be economically and socially empowered. So just like what I said earlier, the number of youth is very much large, and the knowledge that the youth has been acquiring over time is very much vast. And the number of youth that is located in these developing countries is 84% of the total number of youth. And what we need to do is to take advantage of that and allow our youth to take part in community building and in our nation building. And we need to provide avenue where youth could actually say their thoughts and provide their suggestions, not only suggestions but also lawmaking and all others. We need to establish the trust between the older generation and the younger generation, that they would need to work they need to work together in building the community that they belong to, respectively. Next is raise proactive activity, empathy, and generosity among youth. Most people who are playing an active role in the social change and development in their countries have started by the simplest volunteering roles and showing empathy towards their surroundings. So most people would think that the youth are actually apathetic, which is actually not true. Possibly there is this. It's not apathy, but probably there is that so-called distraction that that the youth actually just need guiding for them to be on the right path, and for us to be able to guide them and to bring them in the right path. We actually need to provide avenues where they could share their passion and their talents. And that's what we actually need to do in all of our communities.
Interesting,
So,
Hans, if I may politely interrupt. We're a bit short on time for the other speakers. Do you think you can wrap it up within the next minute, if possible?
Yes. I'm actually on my last point. Yes. Okay. So, in certain communities, just like in volunteering roles, it is a very simple activity to allow the youth to participate and later on become part of actually in community building. And lastly, is to work on formal education. We all know that the road for social, economic, and political empowerment and development is education. So the youth participation in education is a contributor in the participation of young people as global citizens. And it also introduces them to the different learning platforms where they can reach their full potentials and be lifelong leaders. So actually what we need to do is to allow young educators to become part of the education sector, for them to share what they have learned. Because what is currently happening is that our young educators are settling on jobs that are actually not in their line of passion, or not in their line of duty, or what they have studied to. So it will be put into waste. So what we need to do is to allow these educators to become part of the education sector, so that for us to be on the road for social, economic, and political empowerment, and to develop our education system in our community. So these are the three things that I see that are very much beneficial on our respective communities, that would indeed help us to create a community that is greater and that is more sustainable for our younger generations and for all the generations to come. So these are just some of the examples of the youth-led social changes. For an example, in our community in MSU IIT, young individuals have tried to push a policy wherein there is no dress code that is established in our university, and that was very much successful. Next is the no to single-use plastics. Our university is currently observing no to single-use plastics, wherein single-use plastics are not allowed to enter in our university, and this is led by young individuals as well, and they are very much successful. So basically, the role of youth in society is that we actually need to realize if we are prepared to see the reality of the world that is prepared for us. As I'd like to also end this opportunity of speech by saying that our time as youth is not forever, but our time in our passion in molding the youth is timeless. Thank you so much to ATU-Net for allowing me to become part of the roundtable speakers, as well as for experiencing and witnessing the lessons of our keynote speakers. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Hans. All right, so let's move to the next speaker. We have Shahirunisa Ramli with the title of Youth Revolution. Let's welcome Shahirunisa Ramli.
Right, thank you so much. Sorry for the inconvenience because just now the line is not good, but thank you to the moderator and also to ATU-Net Secretariat for doing this ATU-Net Student Leader Forum 2020 and giving this opportunity to me. So as for my topic is youth revolution, we know that the worldwide crisis triggered by the coronavirus pandemic has no parallel in the modern of history. We cannot be accused of the hyperbole when we see it just plunging our world in its entirety and each of us individually into the most challenging things that we have faced in generations. Actually, it's our defining moments where we'll be dealing with its fallout for years, and many things will be changed forever. It is also bringing up the economic disruptions of the monumental proportions, creating a dangerous and volatile period on the multiple fronts. For example, in the aspect of politically, socially, and even geopolitically, which is raising big concerns about the environment and also extending the reach of the technology into our life, just like what we did just now, which is the video conference and also forum across all over the world. But deep inside, existential crisis also favor introspection and can have the potential for the transformation. Right, giving back to our nature or our first given task, which is the Great Reset, the new world and society that we actually are going to discuss today, will be the most ambitious and also strategical plan in the world that has seen in more than a generation. In COVID-19 pandemic was most assuredly won't remain as a crisis forever. According to Prince Charles, it stated that the threat of climate change has been more gradual than COVID-19, but it's devastating reality for many people and their livelihoods around the world, and its ever greater potential to disrupt, surpass even the COVID-19. So this great reset that we need is not just a revolution or shift to something or new ideology, but the only acceptable response to such a crisis is to pursue a great reset of our economies, politics, and also society. Indeed, this is a moment to reevaluate the sacred cause of the pre-pandemic system, but also to defend certain long-held values. Equally important, younger generation must be involved in this process because it's inherently about the long-term future. We must expand our effort to recognize the diversity of the backgrounds, opinions, and even the values are among the citizens at all levels. We each have our individual identities, but we also belong to local, professional, national, and even global communities with shared interests and intertwined destinies, right? According to my slide also been saying the same thing, but rather it should be seen as a pragmatic step towards to a more resilient, cohesive, and also a sustainable world. Some of the pillars of the global system will need to be replaced and other part of strengthened. To achieve shared progress, prosperity, and health requires nothing more or less. The Great Reset should, like us, and seek to lend a voice to those who have been left behind. This one is very, very important. Why? It's because everyone who is willing to help or everyone who is willing to co-shape the future can also do that as well. Therefore, this is for us as a society and also as a youth to ensure that we take an action to set the seal that we never get anywhere close to this kind of outcome across the globe. Right. Moving on to the next topic, which is the youth and COVID-19. As we know that youth activism is increasing worldwide, being revolutionized by social media that increase mobilization to an extent that would have been impossible before. It's taken many different forms, ranging from the non-institutional political participation to demonstration and also protest, and even address issues as diverse climate change, economic reforms, gender equality, and even LGBTQ rights. The young generation is finally at the vanguard of the social change, which young generation will be the catalyst for the change and source of critical momentum for the Great Reset. So economic and health impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic have been asymmetric across the age groups, which current evidence suggests that the young people are less at risk in terms of developing severe physical health symptoms linked to COVID-19. However, we say that this disruption in their access to education and employment opportunities as a result of economic downturn is likely to put young generation on a much more volatile trajectory in finding and maintaining quality job and income. Okay, to the next slide, which preparing youth for post-COVID. It's actually the global survey aimed to capture the immediate effects of the pandemic on the lives of young people, which age 18 to 29. Thank God I'm still young people. With regards to employment, education, mental well-being, rights, and even social activism. Over 12,000 responses were received from 112 countries, with a large proportions coming from educated youth and those with internet access. The survey population is representative of students and working youth with a tertiary education who together account for about a quarter of youth in the country's sample. But the point here is the global pandemic has impacted not just only employment opportunities, but has also disrupted the delivery of the education, training and skill development programs, and has also made a labor market entry and transition between jobs got a bit challenging, but for the youth, educations and training are crucial in enhancing their employability. Unfortunately, the current crisis, which is right now pandemic, has also affected the education and learning progress for the youth. Nevertheless, despite these challenges, the Malaysia government has acknowledged that skills, training, and generating new job opportunities is what the country needs to. The Berencana that been introduced by the government itself, the initiative was announced to help open more job opportunities for the Malaysians, which focusing on the needs of reskilling and upskilling program for the youth and also unemployed workers, which possibly benefit around 200k student Malaysians. I mean, reskilling and upskilling is a new demand for the new capabilities and also as a vital in adapting to the emerge of digital transformation. As we know, we go everywhere. People keep talking about digital transformation. We are dealing with digital transformation, and even now we are born with a digital. We are not following the digital, but we are born in digital. So, rephrasing to Malaysian Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, he stated that when a job have yet to materialize due to slow economy, it is wise that we upskill our youth. So instead of seeing the jobs, why not we focusing on the youth itself and give more and more skills to the youth instead of we focusing on the job, right? So overall, just like want to rephrase back the technology. Technology throughout the COVID-19 has been growing reliance on the use of technology to learn, live, and stay connected. Pandemic will accelerate innovation even more, catalyzing technological changes since technology became an essential during the COVID-19 pandemic. As for now, we also have been in technologies issue, which is we are having a video conference. But technology empower urban youth through self-efficacy, which instead of simply a general measure of self-efficacy, we focus on several important domains related to STEM education: science, technology, engineering, and also mathematics, which also includes the genre self-efficacy. Generation Z are the first digital native which born between 1997 to 2012, which grew up with the most accelerated and game-changing periods of technology. Right, and with the human history as well, Generation Z is constantly connected, and technology is integrated into every aspect of their communication. Speaking of the communication, frequency of communication of multimedia entertainment could lead to empowerment or greater empowerment, could enable youth to engage more with these technologies. Just like what my topic is youth empowerment. So while we present our arguments and in discussion as if technology was the influencing factor, we carefully presented the results in the language of associations and relationship instead of casually. If may I rephrase from Bandura 1997, points out that the domains of self-efficacy lead to the behavior in that domain. From the point we see that engagement with technology affects domain of empowerment, not just the most proximate. Finally, and above all, moving forward to further leverage on technology to combat this COVID-19, the collaboration and coordination youth and ministry are needed more than ever. It's like both need to take two to tango, right? Innovation in genetics, with scientifically, biologically now on the horizon, is also exciting, proving that the way for developments in healthcare that are ground. To sum up, empowerment urban youth to succeed in tomorrow's workforce.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that wonderful presentation. We are really short on time, so we're really going to go quick here. And up next we have?
Yeah, we have Muhammad Wasik Riaz. He is the president of Community Service and Mentor for Sustainable Development Goals. Wow, the 17 goals. High-Tech University, Pakistan. So with the title of Role of Youth in Resuscitating the Ailing Economy, Owning the Pandemic, Muhammad Wasik Riaz, the stage is yours.
Good luck.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, and hope you are fine and best with health. This is Muhammad Wasik Riaz, and I would love to say thanks to ATU-Net Student Leader Forum 2020, as they have given me a stage to represent my country and my university. Well, a very short introduction of that I have represented my country in international forums, and I was the president of community service, and I'm currently a mentor for sustainable development goals at High-Tech University, Texla. Well, one of my international forum and summit was in Malaysia. Luckily, this year, Global Peace Summit Malaysia 2020, and it was hosted by UTM on 20th of February, and I really loved the environment over there, and I will really appreciate the higher staff and the students, like how they're working towards the sustainable development goals. So the theme of today is the Great Reset, the New World and Society. And my topic is a role of youth in resuscitating the ailing economy, owning the pandemic. Well, I would love to describe the topic a little bit. Pakistan is one of the country that has a population of youth more than 70%. Like the people that 70% of the population of Pakistan basically lies between the age group of 20 and 35. So yes, a youth has a very big impact on the society and the economy of the Pakistan. So I will discuss like how youth of Pakistan basically resuscitating the ailing economy, and like during the time of pandemic when all of the countries all over the world were facing the difficulties with the economy, and like how Pakistani youth helped in that way. So first of all, the table of content. I will be discussing, I will give a brief description about Pakistan, my country, and COVID-19 crisis. Then role of youth during pandemic and search for sustainable and better future. First of all, Pakistan. First, greetings from Pakistan. And Pakistan is like one of very beautiful country in the world, and it has been very important geographical location as it is in borders with India, China, Iran, and Afghanistan. So it comprises of basically, we're going to have our fifth province, that is Gilgit-Baltistan, but rest are Punjab, Sindh, Balochistan, and KPK. And all of these different provinces have their own culture, their own languages, and Pakistan is a very multi-dimensional country, and it has a lot of cultures and traditions. And it is a very warm, welcoming, and free environment where you can set up the industries, and it is inviting all of the industries all over the world and investors to invest over here, and we can go towards a path of the progress and prosperity. And Pakistan is Pakistani leader, the Prime Minister Imran Khan, is very much concerned about the sustainable development goals, and he says like we will complete all of the sustainable development goals by 2030, and we have recently completed the sustainable development goal, climate change action, SDG 13 right now. So COVID-19 crisis, the economic repercussions of the pandemic and subsequent lockdown effect had a very vast and big effect on small businesses and startup of the people. A lot of daily wages, and a lot of the people, they stopped working just because of pandemic and quarantine. So there were a lot of life loss and health issues, but luckily Pakistan was one of the countries that recovered from the pandemic and the COVID-19 diseases very early. And as all over the world, there was shortage of supplies and the shut of the industries, and there were a lot of education problems as all of the institutions all over the country were school, colleges, and universities were basically on the online mode, and they were all there was a learning management system, and they were learning. They had their own syllabus and their own tests. So this graph shows like Pakistan had the highest cases, more than 6,000 from the period of June 9 to June 29, and then there's a sharp decline over the cases. And I would love to say thanks to Allah that we recovered from the COVID-19 crisis. So we cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future, and as said by Plaquenty Roswell, and it's very true. So role of youth during the pandemic. I will discuss now the different aspects in which the youth worked in Pakistan and all over the world to make the country to progress and prosperity. And first aspect is socio-economic and policy making, then entrepreneurs and freelancing and business and marketing. Well, and first aspect, Pakistan government, along with youth, they made a Corona Tiger Force, in which basically all of the youth go to the houses of the different people, daily wages and masons, and they give the rations and money to the people so that they can afford and they can live through the difficult time of COVID-19. And a lot of youth of Pakistan are in policy making, and it is a very very good environment for the youth to be in politics and democracy and all of this stuff. And local NGOs like ED and JDC, these are also youth-led organizations right now, and these organizations basically went door to door to the people, and they helped the people and gave rations and food to the different people. Then entrepreneurs and freelancing, and I will discuss this aspect in the following slides, but there were new startups and drop shipping, freelancing, local industries were open that were related to the sanitary products and personal protective equipment for the people during the time of pandemic. Then businesses, marketing, e-Rozgar, food chains, and e-businesses were open, and the youth started blogging as during the time of pandemic. There were more screen time of the people, so like they used to work on the social media so that they can earn and feed their family. So new startups. Well, Pakistani startup money was 24.5 million US dollars just before the pandemic, and now it is 32 million US dollars. So there's a rapid increase of that during time of pandemic. And 21% of these basically startups were educational technology, health technology, and financial technology. In the aspect of educational technology, basically the learning management systems were a lot of youth basically introduced the learning management system to different universities and helped universities, schools, and colleges so they can teach children. And Pakistan National Television, PTV, they and they broadcasted different channels for the different students so that of different classes and of different subjects basically, so that they can learn. And this was all youth projects. And then different startups like Tanimabad, it hosted over 125,000 students during the time of pandemic. And it is a mobile app basically, and it teaches to animations. Then Sabak's Muse, it hosted over 235,000 students, and basically the Sabak's Muse is that it teaches different languages and different subjects to the people. And Online basically introduced an app and a very interactive system so that children can learn. And then Quino is basically a platform where the teachers teach to the student. It's all youth startups and teach the student to one-to-one basically. So during more than 70% of the startups during the time of pandemic were successful, and they catered more than 16,000 students, 5315 schools, and 7 NGOs. So this is a huge number. Then coming towards health technology and financial technology, the Sehat Kahani was introduced by the Young Doctors Association of Pakistan, and basically during this time period, with the help of this startup, basically Sehat Kahani, they used to check the patients. There was a team, multidisciplinary team that are comprising of medicine, psychologists, and different nursing people, so that they can look after the patients and they can check whether the patient is fine or not for 2 days. And then if he or she is developing the symptoms, so that they can put him in the quarantine period. So during the time of pandemic, a lot of universities and a lot of youth started the projects and started the working on developing and producing different person protective equipment, pipes, CPAP machines, ventilators, sanitizers, and masks. Then in financial technology, Asas program was digitalized by youth of Pakistan, and AMA Asan Mobile Account basically is a platform that was introduced by youth in the time period of pandemic. And in this with the help of AMA Asan Mobile Account, basically you can have access to 12 big banks and 4 microfinance banks like Jazz, Ufone, and Telenor, and Zong. And you can do the transactions, and you can do the billings and buy stuff with a fraction of the seconds with the help of this technology. So freelancing and dropshipping, about 1.15 million Pakistanis are now involved in the freelancing economy, and with the help, and about 82% of freelancers said to the survey that Pakistan will basically has increased its freelance money, and now Pakistan is 4th in the list of the fastest growing freelancer markets, just behind the UK, US, and Brazil. Sorry. And it is increasing 45% year on year. And the youth of Pakistan basically gain skills from the different platforms, Coursera, edX, and then with the help of these skills, they made freelancing their primary stream of income, and they worked on the Upwork, Fiverr, and Guru, and earned money during the time of pandemic. So then a lot of people started this dropshipping business, that is AliExpress, Amazon, and eBay. Mm-hmm. So the technical universities of Pakistan played a very vital role during the time of pandemic. That National University of Technology, New Tech, developed a ventilator, a cheap ventilator, so that it is affordable for the government and people of Pakistan. Then production of PPEs, personal protective equipments, were done by a lot of universities in Pakistan. Then the National University.
1 minute to wrap it up.
I will just wrap it up. The NUST made the diagnostic kit. The National University of Science and Technology, and High Tech, the university I was in, made the LMS and mass production for the people. So for the better and sustainable future, We have to work for the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. We should have a goal in our mind that till 2030, our country should be like this, and we should complete all of our Sustainable Development Goals. We have to open up small industries. We have to think for the green future. We have to make the green buildings. We have to make things. We have to produce things with the least pollution. As I've done bachelor's in mechanical engineering, so and I've done my final year project in the renewable energy. So I will say that for the sustainable future, we have to build things, and we have to be opportunist, and we have to help youth and guide them to the right path, and we have to create opportunities for the youth according to their talent. So I will end up with a quote that youth are the leaders of tomorrow, and yes, youth are the pillars of tomorrow, and youth will hold up all the problems and all the
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Enjoy. I was surprised too with the statistics you had on it, with 70% of startups being successful during a pandemic. Wonderful initiative there. Next up, we have our Marcelino Agung Cristio from Institute Technology Bandung. He will be talking about international networking through digital leadership. The screen is yours.
Okay, so hello everyone. I hope you guys all are healthy and stay positive during this pandemic. So at first, I would like to thank you to ATU-Net as well as UTM International for hosting this such a great event. So at first, I would like to share my screen first.
That's going to go fast for that.
Okay, so hope all of you guys can see the slide. Okay, so today I will share about the topic international networking through digital leadership. So at first, I would like to introduce myself. So my name is Marcelino Agustio, and I'm currently being a president of IMSC ITB, International Mobility Students Club of ITB, Institute of Technology of Bandung. And currently, I'm an electrical engineering student. So basically, IMSC ITB is a student organization which gather all of the students around ITB who has already accepted on a scholarship or any program to study abroad or competition abroad. Okay, so about today's agenda, I will be delivering some contents, which the first one will be the students these days. So about the current condition and prospect of students nowadays in Indonesia. And the second one will be the international networking itself, some key points regarding international networking. And the third one will be the implementation of the concept of international networking as well as digital leadership. So it will be an actualization of international engagement event during the pandemic. And the last one will be digital leadership. How digital leadership is all of the process for the international networking itself. Okay, so the first one will be this characteristic about the students these days, especially in Indonesia. So the first characteristic for my fellow Indonesian student, as I observed, so the first one will be the awareness of the importance of upgrading self-proficiency in any aspect. So Indonesian students nowadays are very aware of the new opportunities or new chance to upgrade themselves as a student. And the second one will be the fast and innovational usage of digital technology. So Indonesian students now, they are very aware of the usage of digital technology, all of the online platforms that exist nowadays. And the third one will be keen to learn new things and open to any opportunities out there. So as I mentioned before, that Indonesian students actually very competitive, and they are very aware of upgrading themselves through many kind of opportunities. And the last one will be the most important thing that I will emphasize and highlight today. Is about the recognition of the notability of networking and receptiveness to the international globalization. So basically, international world nowadays are very, very rapid grow in Indonesia. And we as a student in Indonesia are very aware of this international networking needs in this globalization era. So basically, why do we need to network in the international world? So the first one will be we can learn how to conduct within the global boundaries, and other than that, we can also learn through the global opportunities with the endless global learning opportunities. And the other one will be the cross-country collaboration chances. So we can collaborate with other students from other universities out there abroad, outside Indonesia. And the last one will be we can get exposed to global issues that currently being very high or hot in the international world. So actually, this is one of the implementation that we as a IMSC FPP already implemented, combined between the digital leadership as well as the international networking. So we already conduct an online international engagement event with all of the international students that currently studying in ITB as a student in ITB. So we implement this through the usage of digital technology. We utilize all of the possible online platforms that we can use to ease our international networking process. So this basically is to overcome the unlikelihood of mobility during the pandemic, as we know that we cannot go abroad during this pandemic due to all of the limitations by the government. So we overcome this by making an online international engagement event. So basically, all of the event that I already mentioned before is only possible through digital leadership. So basically, digital leadership makes more effective and efficient ways to conceive a facile implementation nowadays. And these are some perks that we can get from digital leadership. So the first one is it is very, very flexible. Leadership implementation can be very, very easily adjusted to our needs, to our priorities, and our agendas. And the other perk is its effectiveness. Through digital leadership, the leadership implementation, like the event that I mentioned before, will be very, very cost and time effective. It is less cost and time consuming than the other method. And the last one will be the creativity. By using all of the online platforms that currently available in the world, we can boost our creativity, and it allows our mindset to improve amidst this disruptive era. So basically, this is all of my presentation for today. I hope you guys can get some points, some key points that I already delivered to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much for final speaker. That was wonderful. Thank you. We all talked about social change and youth. Me being youth, I haven't. Okay, us being youth. I haven't really understood my exact role as to what I need to do in my society. But from seeing what all the speakers had to say, they all had the collective message that at the end of the day, it's what we do that actually makes a change in society. It's not about what we speak of, what we can do, but what we can do. And that is exactly what's shown by our speakers today. So we have a question up. His name is Richard from Atmajaya University of Yogyakarta from Indonesia. And he has a question to Hans about the relationship between the young generation and the older generation. Because I think Hans can go on in this and try this question out.
Hello. I think there is a relationship still between the older generation and the younger generation. We need to also recognize the role of the older generation that they are also part in molding the youth currently right now, the younger generation, that is also their role, because they have been in the younger generation stage as well. And moreover, they are the people who are very who could very much understand the stage of the younger generation, because they've been into that into that stage as well, and they play a very important role in molding the youth. And that's why I have mentioned earlier in the last part of my speech that our passion in molding the youth is timeless, but our time as youth is not forever. But because at some point in our life, the all fun and games and all the experience searching or all the other activities that we do as youth will also will come to an end at some point in time, and we need to face the real world that is prepared to us. So what we actually need to do to prove ourselves as youth is to do our part as members of the community, and to do things that that would show to the older generation that we could also do things that they can do. More specifically, I'd like to specify some areas in the Philippines wherein the leaders are from the younger generations, and in these areas are very much progressive, because the youth are very much proactive in facing and in dealing the problems or issues that their community is currently experiencing. And that's one thing that proves that youth is very much effective, especially in being part of the community as well as being part of decision making. That's the thing I wanted to say.
Interesting. It's like you had that answer right up ready for you. So that was very impactful. Thank you very much. I think we have space for one more question. Okay, it's not. It's a no sign from the technical team. Okay, fortunately. Thank you very much, Nisa, Wazik, Marcelino. And we also had... Yeah, Hans. Wow, hands as in handsome. Okay. Okay. So we'll have a group photo. Everyone pose in 3, 2, and 1. Smile, please. Okay. Sure, they've taken the photo. Hopefully, they can go back and take it again if they want to. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much for all the speakers for being here today. In all honesty, we appreciate your time, taking your time out of a busy schedule. So without further ado, we'll move on to the closing remarks.
Yeah, we have the closing remarks from Vice Chancellor of UTHM, Professor Datuk Technologies, Dr. Wahid Razali. He also the Deputy Chair of ATU-Net.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon to everybody, to all distinguished speakers and participants of ATU-Net Student Leaders Forum 2020. And it's been a great honor to be among such accomplished individuals and would be able to share our presence in this meaningful event. And I'm pleased that this program has provided a platform for fruitful discussions on the current crisis as well as the prospect of the future, especially where youth and students leaders are concerned. I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to UTM, or University Technology Malaysia, for initiating and hosting this first ATU-Net SeLF, and for the kind invitation to the programs. My utmost appreciation also goes to a great lineup of speakers that includes, I understand, the young leaders of today and tomorrow, such as Adam Brimo, Arif Tukiman, and Sheng, for your time and also for sharing in this program. And I will find that both valuable and inspiring. To all participants, our youth and student leaders, I'm very pleased with the positive and engaging participation in the forum. I couldn't be any prouder of you. And the world today is rapidly changing and often very unpredictable. Our shared global struggles is a reminder that we must be united and we must be ever ready to lead in this VUCA world, an environment which volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity are going to become more and more prevalent today. And this forum today has given valuable insights into how we can respond appropriately for successful outcomes despite the limiting circumstances that we have today. Also at UTHM, with wisdom we explore, I urge all youth and student leaders of the world to come together and to collectively and genuinely understand your role in this new world. Leaders change, and you may be the leaders of tomorrow. You must embrace your role wholeheartedly as a key players with a high sense of purpose, ownership, and accountability, and with a view that your action for the universities and communities across the globe is an important part of your life. Last but not least, it is utmost importance that this event leads to a long-lasting friendship among our youth and student leaders, which translates into more cooperation and collaboration in the future. And it has indeed been a pleasure to be part of these global experiences, and I wish all of you the best and to see you soon again in the near future in ATU-Net SeLF 2021. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, Prof. Dato, Technologist Dr. Wahid Razali, the Deputy Chair of ATU-Net, also the Vice Chancellor of UTHM.
Yes, yes. Okay, so we've come to the final session of not just our first second, we've come to the end of it. Thank you very much, everyone, for being here until this point. If you want to connect with us, do log on to our website. You can go and find us on atu-net.org. You can connect with us there and stay updated on our upcoming activities. Also, do follow us on Facebook at UTM International, and do connect with us for collaboration. We're all open to improving our society. So till then, till we see you next time at the Student Leader Forum 2021.
Stay safe, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.